everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 22 of the holiday card series. Today I'm going to be using the Gifts of Love stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This is a stamp set that I designed for the December card kit. I'm going to use this little tree image and 3 different colors of green ink from Simon Says Stamp. Starting with green leaf, and I'm stamping that onto some Neenah Solarite cardstock. This is the 80-pound cardstock. I like to use the 80-pound version versus the 110-pound version for layers on cards. For actual card bases, I prefer to use the thicker version, but if it's just a layer that's going to go on top of a card, I like to use this thinner version so that it cuts down on any bulkiness on the card. I'm now using green apple ink and then Lucky ink. And I'm just going to repeat these colors all the way across while I stamp this tree image over and over again. It creates a nice row of trees in varying shades of green. So after I had all of my tree stamps stamped, I took some red cardstock. This is Red Hot cardstock from Bazzill, and I'm prepping the bottom corner with my EK6S powder tool. This just puts down a little bit of powder and it cuts down on any static cling that might happen while I do some heat embossing. Before I add my embossing powder, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. The sentiment says Merry Christmas, and it's a stamp from that same stamp set. I'm stamping it in Versamark ink. Versamark ink is a very sticky ink, so it makes that embossing powder stick to it after I apply it. And I'll shake off the excess, and then I'll heat set that. I used Hero Art white embossing powder today. Just wiped off any of that extra powder so I can't see it, and then I trimmed it down to a slightly smaller piece. So I'm going to use this cool product today from Sukaneko. This is Radiant Neon Amplify ink, and it's a really interesting ink. It sort of applies like Ranger Enamel Accents, like that white Enamel Accents product. However, the real fun comes when you heat set this ink, and I'll show you that in a minute here. For now, I'm just applying little dots of white ink on top of these trees. On this set of this tree right here, I thought it'd be fun to do 2 dots that were close together and then draw a V shape underneath to create a heart. This is how I draw hearts on my nails when I put a heart on my manicure. I thought this was kind of the same idea when it comes to this ink. You just put 2 dots that are close together and then draw a V shape underneath. So I continue to add those dots onto the trees. And then I took my heat tool and watch the dots as I apply heat. They start to puff up and become almost like this spongy material. It's really hard to describe. They puff up almost like popcorn. It's really, really cool looking. I think you could use this Amplify ink to create snowballs or snowbanks or anywhere where you want a lot of texture. I was worried about some of the foaminess, sponginess of this Amplify ink being squashed if they ever went through the mail. So I did a little test, and you know what? It didn't lose much of the spongy squishiness. It flattened out just a little bit, but it didn't lose much of its shape. So I think it's pretty safe to go through the mail. You can see how that cool texture turned out. So now I'm going to work on the card base. I'm using some green cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I've cut and folded it to create a top folding card, and now I'm putting inside this embossing folder from We Are Memory Keepers. This embossing folder is from the Dotted set. It actually has 2 different embossing folders in it. This is just one of the embossing folders. To use my Big Shot machine for this, I only used 1 cutting pad, and I sort of had the embossing folder replace the other cutting pad in the sandwich, and it goes through the die cutting machine with no problem at all and embosses that dot texture. I'm using some more of that red cardstock, and I'm going to use the Diagonal Stripes stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. I wanted some white and red stripes, and the only way I thought to do this was possibly heat embossing it. So I've applied some Versamark ink onto that stamp, and then I pressed the cardstock onto the stamp and used my fingers to run over the area very evenly. And now I have the Versamark ink on the cardstock in a diagonal stripe pattern. So I applied some white embossing powder and then heat set that with my heat tool. I do get questions about heat embossing sometimes if you have to heat set the powder, and you absolutely do, because once the Versamark dries, if that powder isn't melted, it will just flake right off like any other powder. Use my Tombow Extreme adhesive to add a strip of adhesive and then press that tree area down onto the diagonal stripes. Trimmed that area down, and then I put a foam tape strip on the Merry Christmas and then put that behind the trees. Added some more foam to that whole area and a strip of regular adhesive behind the Merry Christmas, and then I adhered that down onto the card front, just more near the bottom. So I'm almost done with the card. I'm just going to round the corners with a We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. This is the 1/2 inch corner chomper. And then my card is complete. I hope you enjoyed today's card. I will be back tomorrow with a mail call video for sure. And then on Wednesday for another card in the holiday card series. Thanks for watching. On screen right now are 6 more card videos for you to check out. These are all day 22 cards from the previous 6 years of the holiday card series. You can catch me at my blog at kwarnerdesign.com, and if you click in that top right corner right now, it will take you directly to today's blog post where you can see all of the supplies that I used in today's video, as well as links to online stores where you can purchase those supplies. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.